Welcome to day 88. Today we're going to be talking about Joshua chapters 19 to 21. Here talks about the inheritance of Joshua. When they made an end of the dividing the land as an inheritance according to their borders, the children of Israel gave an inheritance among them to Joshua the son of Nun. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city which he asked for, Timnath Serah in the mountains of Ephraim, and he built the sweet city and dwelt in it. Comment here from Evidence Bible. After his conquests, Joshua was given a city to dwell in. While we wage the good warfare, we wait for the city which has foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 10. See John chapter 14, verses 1 to 3, and Revelation 21, verse 10 for further details. Chapter 20 talks about the cities of refuge. It talks about verse 3, the slayer who kills a person accidentally or unintentionally may flee there, and they shall be your refuge from the avenger of blood. Verse 5, then if the avenger of blood pursues him, they shall not deliver the slayer into his hand, because he struck his neighbor unintentionally, but did not hate him beforehand. Verse 9, these were the cities appointed for all the children of Israel and for the stranger who dwelt among them, that whoever killed a person accidentally might flee there and not die by the hand of avenger of blood until he stood before the congregation. Comment here, and I'm posting this from Evidence Bible. Avenger of blood. It was the avenger's right and duty to slay the murderer. 2 Samuel 14, verse 7, 11. If he found him outside of a city of refuge, in order that this law might be guarded against abuse, Moses appointed 6 cities of refuge. These were in different parts of the country, and every facility was afforded the manslayer that he might flee to the city that lay nearest him for safety. The avenger was forbidden to follow him into the city of refuge. This arrangement applied only to cases where death was not premeditated. The case had to be investigated by the authorities of the city, and the willful murderer was on no account to be spared. He was regarded as an impure and polluted person and was delivered up to the avenger. Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 11 to 13, 19. God is the ultimate avenger of blood. He will see to it that every transgression against the moral law will find retribution. See Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 14. Chapter 21 goes on to talk about the cities of the Levites. Here, I'd like to add the comment from Franklin Roosevelt. We cannot read the history of our rise and development as a nation without reckoning with the place the Bible has occupied in shaping the advances of the Republic. Where we have been the truest and most consistent in obeying its precepts, we have attained the greatest measure of contentment and prosperity. I'm fully convinced that the background of the West, not just America, is influenced greatly by Jesus, by Christianity. And that's not a proof that Christianity is the most supreme. And I don't want to live in a country as well where everyone is saying by mouth that they are Christians and not really get along well with their understanding of who Jesus is. I don't, in other words, I don't want to live in a place where everybody says they believe in Jesus, but everyone has their own version of Jesus too. In other words, I don't want to be, I don't want, or God does not want worshippers who worship Him through mouth only. The kind of worshippers the Heavenly Father is looking for is the one who will worship Him in spirit and in truth. And so, me saying this, I would almost everyone, even atheists, would prefer to live in a Christian-based, I believe, in a Christian-based place where life is treasured. And in my understanding, I was watching Jesus Game Changer in Amazon Prime, and there has been many arguments or evidences on how Christianity or how Jesus changed, or the early Christians, how they presented Christianity very well when they look after the sick, when they sincerely follow the teachings of Jesus. It's such a beautiful thing, not with what we see now with the left and right using Jesus for their own gain. What I'm saying is that to follow Jesus in a bigger scheme, in a bigger picture, it's a beautiful thing to see. And that's what I wish, that's what I want for my family, for my son, is a generation who fears God. And unfortunately, as I mentioned before, I don't want to get into politics, but if the law of the land will be contradicting what Bible teaches, I would be against that. So I will have to push my, I guess, agenda. My agenda is God's agenda. I'm putting myself in His, um, in His Word, and I'm hoping that as we get to know who God is, we will find it in our heart that we find this to be a great opportunity to be in line with Him. Let's put it this way: God created the Garden of Eden before He created Adam and Eve. He created the environment first for them to have a place that they can thrive in. Now, in a way, the environment that we are shaping, if it's against God, if it's not conducive for us to be living for God in His way, I would be against that kind of environment. And that's kind of what we are talking about when we are talking about laws here. I know that there's a separation of church and state, but if I guess what I'm saying is that all our beliefs, our laws, our representation, are mirror of law. So for me, I would do my best to implement or follow God's law. Chapter 21 goes on to talk about the promise fulfilled. So the Lord gave to Israel all the land of which He had sworn to give to their fathers, and they took possession of it and dwelt in it. The Lord gave them rest all around according to all that He had sworn to their fathers, and not a man of all their enemies stood against them. The Lord delivered all their enemies into their hand. Not a word failed of any good thing which the Lord had spoken to the house of Israel. All came to pass. Comment here. We can trust God to keep every promise He makes. It is impossible for Him to lie. See Titus chapter 1, verse 2. And here in First Chronicles 6:54 to 81, it also talks about the dwelling place for the Levites, kind of what we talked about earlier, or mentioned at least. So I guess that's it for today. Um, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you, and I'm hoping that you would seek God daily through Bible reading. And please take very good care of yourself. Bye bye.